I watched her walk in. I knew she would be here, once I saw the Solarians at the bar, the others in the corner. The one with the gold-tipped tusks. They didn't see her, though. At least not the four yelling and pounding their oversized fists on the bar top for more drinks. The barkeep saw her. He noticed her smooth bipedal gait, the one reserved for humans. He had made himself scarce, mumbled some excuse to the four behemoths shattering glasses and demanding drinks before he scurried into the back room. He left a bottle there, thick glass housing brown liquid. The sight of the whiskey caused me to shudder, the involuntary memory of smelling it still lingering in my mind. I had watched 3 Ventrulians die that day, all of them daring each other to try it, not believing the rumours about humans and their drinks. 6 more had died just moments after. She had cut them down with visceral, yet almost serene cuts of her void blade. They hadn't believed the rumours about humans, about their speed and strength. Those rumours were about humans as a species. This was the Thorn of Dalcinth. I had passed out at the sight of the carnage, the violence overloading the empathy receptors in my primordial cortex. It didn't matter that I knew why they were here, for racketeering, embezzlement, and all other matters of infection that always seem to plague thriving societies. I knew the same violence was coming. Nature demanded it. Dalcinth's evolutionary adaptation would not allow these parasites. I've been on Dalcinth for the last 7 cycles. As a xenoecologist, I've been assigned to study the agrarian moon's ecosystem. I was to catalogue and study its reasons for success, and more importantly how the orbiting moon would change in the shadow of the colossus that loomed above it for just over 20 cycles. Dalcinth orbited the planet of Turwas, standing as one of the 5 moons in the great planet's orbit. All of the moons were green, supple, farmlands tasked with providing food for their orbital master. The Galactic Council had decided to use Turwas as an experiment, the first true ecumenopolis in the known universe. Dalcinth had been the most fertile and abundant moon in its orbit, and so I was to study the changes to its ecosystems as the great project was completed. The terraforming, low-orbit structures, and all other expansions had taken a toll on Turwas, and I was to measure its ripple. She was here for Valkar. She did not look at the boisterous thugs at the bar, but I was sure she saw them. Just as I was sure she saw the group sitting in the booth at the corner of the room. My dual cardiac pumps sped up as I watched her walk. Thoughts of leaving the bar flashed across my mind, the chance to avoid seeing the violence that I had seen 4 times before. But I couldn't pull myself away. Violence and threats bred evolution, causing organisms to adapt. The scientist inside kept me from leaving, knowing that this moon's protector would once again dispatch the parasites attempting to exploit the place I'd come to know as home. Valkar was not the first, nor would he be the last, to try and set up illicit shop here. Any ecologist will tell you that a prosperous system will draw one of 3 things: predators, scavengers, or parasites. On Dalcinth it was parasites, bloodsuckers who wished to come to the sole township on the planet's face and attempt to muscle their way in. They would try to demand cuts of the profits, demand payment for protection, along with any other ventures backed solely by force. They were criminals, all of them. They didn't move to the great beast, the one with the most bounty. No, they chose the most successful of its followers, hoping to latch on and leech whatever they could, hoping to remain out of notice of Turwas' masters. She approached the bar with slow steps, the tip of her void blade peeking from under her white cloak. Blue streaks ran the length of the garment, matching the design of her combat helmet. The other regulars noticed her now. Their conversations fell soft, but not silent. It was a natural response, quieting down in the face of her threat. But they knew who she was, they didn't want to tip her hand, so they continued their now meaningless conversations, all of their eyes glued to the woman. I wondered if any of their stomachs churned like mine did. My people were, by nature, avoidant of violence. The sight and feel of it caused physical reactions in us. But I looked around at them, all the people I had come to know and love. They had treated me as one of their own, provided me with food and company, gone above and beyond in their hospitality. As sick as this violence was going to make me, I was glad she was here. I was glad Dalcinth had developed his thorn. Once she got to the metal countertop, she removed her helmet. She placed it next to the heavy bottle without a sound. She did not look around the room. With a single pull, she uncorked the bottle of liquor and took a drink. I watched her face in the mirror behind the bar, awe growing in me. There was no grimace, no frown, just a stoic acceptance of the foul-tasting liquid. Humans were unique in that. The ability to mask emotions. Most species evolved with little control over their feelings and reactions. Non-verbal communication was evolutionarily beneficial to most. But not to the Thorn. The Solarians at the bar smelled the whiskey first. All four of the meaty beings looked at her at once, eyeing the creature some 2 heads shorter than them. "What the fuck is that?" the biggest one asked. The rest of the room fell silent, waiting for her response. She gave none. No words, no movements, just a hand at her side and another gripping the bottle. "He fucking asked you a fucking question!" another exclaimed. He was the smallest of the pack. Small groups and communities would often form. I had seen it countless times. Sometimes the groups were mutually beneficial, adhering to the leader by merit, but all members providing substance to the relationship. Other groupings were based on fear and subservience. Inferior beings constantly attempting to gain favor or avoid the ire of the leader, nibbling on the breadcrumbs left by the strongest. This foursome was the latter. The largest made the first move towards her. He took a few steps as he spoke, the other 3 orbiters following close on his heels. "Answer me when I fucking talk to you," he said as he walked. "Do you know what—" The Thorn moved faster than my eyes could track. She swung the bottle into the side of the largest one's head, shattering it. Glass, blood, and brown liquid flew through the air, all landing on the exposed grey skin of the other 3. The alcohol sizzled as it landed, burning the skin off the leader's companions. I don't think they even felt it. Her blade was unsheathed in the blink of an eye. 3 swift cuts in the midsections of the thugs. 3 piles of entrails on the wooden floor. 3 corpses on the ground, seeping purple blood. 2 of them had drawn plasma launchers, both dropping them as they'd been cut open. One of them skittered across the floor, kicking up bits of dust as it slid. It finally stopped, landing under my table, the handle coming to rest next to my boot. I gagged when I saw the viscera, coughed when I smelled it. I had to fight to keep my breakfast, and the 4 previous drinks, down. Lights danced across my vision as the grisly sight gripped my chest. Short of breath, with hands gripping my table for stability. I heard the Thorn finally speak. "Where is Valkar?" she asked. Her tone was low and steady. My own body was firing at full speed, hormones and chemicals putting my entire world at a breakneck pace. The back of my mind marveled at her ability to control herself. To control the adrenaline I knew must be pumping through her body. I don't think I could have spoken that slowly, that cleanly, if my life depended on it. The Solarians at the booth didn't say anything, 4 of them just rising from the table and giving the Thorn a wide berth. They spread through the center of the room, pushing the bar's flimsy tables and chairs to the side. The shape of their pistols was odd, not the same as the ones the others had worn. I didn't recognize the make or the model. The 4 of them spread across the room, creating a semicircle around the woman, as the one with the gold tips in his tusks remained in the booth. I knew who he was. I was sure the Thorn knew too. "The Thorn of Dalcinth, may I presume?" Valkar said. It was odd to hear a Solarian speak with a high galactic accent. Most of their species spoke in guttural, almost primal dialects. A stark contrast from the air of sophistication and education that carried in Valkar's tone. She lowered her eyes at the leader, watching him amble out of the booth as if he was the titled owner of the bar, and her a good friend. "I take your silence in the affirmative." He walked behind his men, avoiding the range of her blade. "Good. I was hoping to meet you." Adjusting his combat suit, he strolled towards the center of the room. "I have an offer," he said, gesturing behind him with an elegant wave. "It is an offer most do not receive. I am sure you know who I am, why I have come, what I will establish here. I need someone like you. My operation needs someone like you. Someone to take care of problems." His lips curled back, revealing jagged teeth, tipped with gold, just like his tusks. The muscles in the Thorn's jaw clenched, and her fingers flexed on the hilt of her still-drawn blade. Purple blood ran along the edge, droplets falling every few seconds. The sound of liquid hitting the floor interspersed between Valkar's rhythmic cadence. She scanned the 4 others, and for the first time in my life, I saw a moment of fear flash across her face. Fear in humans can be hard to detect. a contraction in facial muscles, the dilation of pupils, occasionally a tic. All of it involuntary. Her eyes widened, then narrowed at the four-armed beings, each time lingering on the weapons they held in their hands. Valkar smiled, gold glinting in the dim light. "Work for me, Thorn," he continued. "That is your choice. The alternative is dying on the floor of this bar. I will not be stopped. You can either adapt to your new reality, or you can die." One of the four moved, inching just a half step forward. I do not know if it was fear, anticipation, or just nerves. I do know that it should have been a mistake. She sprang from her stance, bringing her blade back as she prepared a strike aimed at his neck. She never made it. Translucent ripples erupted, silently, from all four of the pistols trained on her. She dropped to her knees, the blade clanging on the hardwood floor next to her. "Frequency vibrations designed to subdue mammals," he said. He hadn't moved, hadn't even blinked at her attempt. Of course, research and resources were required to perfect the devices, human resiliency and all that. He flipped a clawed hand in the air. She was on her hands and knees, limbs shaking as she struggled against the force. Valkar had come prepared. Judging by her resistance, he needed all four of the devices to incapacitate the Thorn. "This is your reality, Thorn," he said. "This is the world you live in, now. You either work for me, or you die today. The choice is yours." The violence's grasp on me tightened. Iron clamps constricting my insides from my neck all the way from my torso. I was struggling to breathe. I couldn't imagine what she was going through as I looked at what I had hoped would be this moon's savior. Though it was odd. She wasn't looking at Valkar with fear or worry in her eyes. It was as if she wasn't even listening to him. No, she was looking at me, staring at me with hard eyes. The same face of determination, of resilience, of rebellion that I had seen her carry in these encounters before. I met her gaze, cocking my own head, my questions as to why she would be looking at me during this moment, overtaking the fear that clenched my chest. Her eyes flashed down for a split second, moving from my feet, then back to my eyes. My stomach dropped when I followed her gaze, saw what she saw. The pistol at my feet. Fear and disgust ran through my mind at what she wanted me to do. I wouldn't. I couldn't. I looked around the room, saw the fearful eyes and faces of the other patrons. The ones who had housed me, fed me, taken me as one of their own. I found myself bending, grabbing the pistol. "Your answer, Thorn!" Valkar roared, all sense of civility gone. I fought against the pistol's weight, the icy cold of the metal meeting unnatural intentions in my grasp. My instincts screamed at me, fought against me. Every fibre of my being begged me to put the pistol down. I could not. I shuddered as I raised it, barrel shaken in my vision as I pointed it at the back of the closest Solarian. Valkar pulled a kinetic slug launcher from his hip, aiming it at the Thorn. I heard the hammer click as I held my breath, steadying my aim. All of them faced the only threat in the room. None of them looked at me. "Die it is," Valkar said, as I pulled the trigger. My world went dark as the shot rang out. When I came to, the Thorn was standing over me, bright green eyes looking at me with a face of contemplation. I pulled my still fuzzy sight away from her stare, moving down her scarlet hair past her white cloak. 5 more corpses lay on the ground, 4 of them, Valkar included, with single cuts that still leaked blood and sinew, one with a still smouldering plasma wound in his back. I looked back at the Thorn. In her hand she held the pistol towards me, barrel facing her. "Adapt or die," she said, the faintest hint of a smile crossing her face. I thought of the pain it had caused me, the physical toll it had taken on my body. But then I saw the faces of the others, the ones who she had saved, who we had saved. I took the pistol from my outstretched arm. Adapt or die.